This is a short builder summary and some photos of my construction of my Zenair 601 HDS. I ordered this and started the project in March of 1997. Arrived by motor freight, had to haul it to the house. Borrowed a friend's motorcycle trailer to bring it home. A lot of the parts I zinc chromated most of the interior. Lived in Florida at the time, and I wanted to make sure that try to protect it for corrosion. This is the rudder tail section. Those things there are the clecos. A lot of people used to ask, what are those things? Well, those are clecos that hold the metal together after you drill a hole. Helps hold it in tight so you can rivet it. This is the horizontal stabilizer working on it, and after I zinc chromated it. You can see there I have air conditioning in my garage. I was lucky. It gets kind of hot there in the summer in Florida, and I installed an air conditioner. It sure did help out a lot in the garage. This is a trim tab on the elevator. My wife Bonnie helped a lot. I was lucky to have a wife that was interested in the same project, and she came down in the garage and helped me a lot. A lot of the parts you had to make yourself. Wasn't that hard to do. Measure twice, cut once. Learned the hard way. Today, a lot of the kit manufacturers for experimental aircraft are, a lot of those parts are already made for you. A lot of the skins are already pre-cut, pre-drilled. Really makes it easier today. Back in '97, a lot of this stuff is you had to do it yourself. Center section, this is the landing gear. The main landing gear had bungee cords. Later on, several years later, I changed that landing gear and went to a spring type gear and modified the frame to do that. This is the wing skeleton, and then after I zinc primed it. And that's the main spar. This portion here was the landing light mount, and I made my own lens, stuck it in the oven at 400 degrees, and it melded around into the shape of the leading edge. Skin, you would pull the nose skin around and keep it tight with the straps, then drill and cleco, and then rivet. Most of these rivets were pulled rivets. There was a few solid rivets in the project, but the majority was all pulled rivets, very easy to use. I did it all by hand with a hand rivet gun. Some of the projects that I did later on, I built a few other airplanes. They had a pneumatic rivet gun, made it a little bit easier. This section here is the bottom rear fuselage. This is the center section, which will match up to the rear fuselage. We'll rivet it all together. This is where I'm matching and hooking them up. This is the firewall, stainless steel, or galvanized steel, I guess was. This is the center section, mated up, mated up to the fuselage. temporary instrument panel put in there. That's just a mock-up of some where I might be putting some instruments. The rear turtle skin on the back of the fuselage, you pull that, wrap it around the top and tighten it up and cleco it and then rivet. There were several thousand rivets. I can't remember exactly how many, but there were several thousand. Starting to take shape. Finally got to sit in the fuselage and make motor noises. Now I'm working on the instrument panel. You have all your radios, transponder, your instruments, airspeed, a lot of wiring. I ordered the engine kit. I used a Rotex 912 80 horse. 5-watt forward kit came with the fiberglass cowling. My wife and I lifted the engine up and put it on the engine mount. It wasn't that heavy. I think it was 125 pounds. I usually worked on it every night after work. This is a auxiliary fuel tank in one of the wings. Both wings had a fuel tank. Plus it had a header tank up front. So what I do on a cross country, I could pump from the auxiliary wing tanks up to the header tank. Finally moved it out of the garage out to the driveway, and should have seen the looks. People would drive by and say, "Is that an airplane?" And we did our first engine started right off. Finally installed the horizontal stabilizer and rudder, fitted the engine cowling. Then I hauled it off to a upholstery shop and had leather seats put in. And you know that at the time the guy, I think, only charged me $25 to haul it to the upholstery shop. Picked out a cowhide and had leather sewed up, very comfortable. Then I started painting it. I brought it back home and I painted the tail, and I said, I can't do this. So I ended up finding a auto body shop that would agree to paint it, and I had all the epoxy paint, and he only charged me $600 labor to do it if I helped him. My intention was to do a military scheme. My son at the time was in the Navy, and I wanted to paint it Navy to maybe get him interested in flying. So we painted a Navy trainer color, and I used the Navy decals. Then we hauled it to an airport. I had a hangar, finally found a hangar. And I finished putting it, assembling after the paint was all done. Put the wings on, put the canopy on, finished putting all my decals on. And then I had some local guys from our EAA chapter come out and do a inspection, final inspection, before I had a DAR come out and do the FAA required inspections. Some of my decals, a little wannabe warbird. My first flight was May of 2000. So it took me around 3 years to build it. This was a beautiful plane to fly. I burnt 4 gallons an hour, and I cruised about 105, 110 miles an hour. This is Hidden Lake Airport in Port Richey, Florida. And then in July of 2000, we flew it to Oshkosh. Got a lot of comments on the airplane, the paint scheme, and got to do the flight review in Oshkosh in front of everybody. It was a fun trip.